We will chant the initial prayer. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashiva-samarambham Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru-paramparam. Superb. So fine, we'll start with discussions.
Yes, please.
Meanwhile, I'll just try to see if I can start the camera. Am I audible? Sorry, I was trying something and I got logged off. Yeah, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, fine. Yes, we can start. Anyone can start with the discussions. Who wants to go first?
Pass kar di, this is Manish.
Yes, please go ahead, Maniji.
I just wanted to. Can we touch upon the one more time the subject of consciousness? The consciousness, as we discussed that this entire Brahman is consciousness. And that is where I have some I think confusion. I always try and put Brahman as a universe, but it is beyond universe. So I am that is something which I, and how consciousness of self or Atma is connected to the Brahman or space.
Okay, yeah, we can discuss.
Probably I'm
We can discuss. Why
not
not?
able to explain it properly, but this is something which is how we differentiate consciousness, space, and Brahman. Like consciousness, space, and Brahman.
Perfect. Yes, we can discuss. So is that the question?
So this is what, like, here I have at times I have a confusion. I interchange Brahman and space, which is not. So whenever I think of Brahman, what mind say shows me is the space.
Correct.
So I am not
Because
able to
mind
go
can reach.
beyond the space.
Exactly. I think it is working perfectly the way it is explained. Mind can go only as much. The pancha indriyas put together give us the sense of perception, and at the mental level we have this strength of inference. So this combination of five senses plus our mind and intellect can reach only as much to that level only, because because if I have to give an example, uh, in a CCTV camera normally, I think we don't record voice, correct? We only record the pictures and motions, video. Normally, I don't think we have voice in that actually. For whatever reason, it's not done.
Nowadays we can record the voice as well.
We can record, is
But
it?
yeah, yes.
Understand. So now we'll go to the next level of example, where even when we record voice, it may not capture ultrasound. If if bat happens to fly over there and it's creating some ultrasound waves, because which it always does. That's how it communicates and navigates. Uh, in that particular CCTV, we can maximum see that okay, the bat entered that particular area where the CCTV was, and we could see where it went and how it went, what it was doing, where it was hanging up and down. We can understand all that, but we can never capture the ultrasounds that it created, because the instrument is not able to capture that. So mind is an instrument which can only capture so much of truth, so much of what is in front of it. It cannot capture everything what is in front of it. It can only capture the transactional reality. To an extent, it can go up to inference. It cannot go beyond that. Why? Because of its limitation. Its limitation. That's it. Mind is great. I mean, it can come out with it can understand energy. It can understand high energy physics. It can understand theory of totality. It can understand everything. It can come out with all these things. If a person meditates on a particular topic, he can keep on improving on it, and one can never reach a last what you can say event kind of while understanding world. Normally, if we see it as understanding something other than oneself, there is no end to it. One scientist will conclude and another scientist will improve upon it further. He will use all that what is given, he will go to the next level, because that's how anything other than us, that is how it is. Because since it is anitya, it keeps changing, it focuses the observer, and observer can see only as much what he can see at that point in time. Supposing if a scientist is here for 100 years, whatever he is seeing that's available. I mean, when I'm saying that seeing, we can include those things which we perceive through a telescope, for example, a super telescope. So we use super telescope to spot celestial objects which is in space. So there are two possibilities. One is that those things are already there and we are not able to see because our indriyas cannot extend beyond a point, and even our extended indriyas, which is like a super telescope or a super microscope, they cannot extend beyond a point. So the limitation of that is also there. That doesn't mean that the object is not there. Object has been always there. So this is one from a worldly object perspective. The other scenario is that we are able to see that object. However, during the lifespan of this particular scientist, that object existed. Just after he collapsed, that object also collapsed after some time, which he would never know. So any theory about that object collapsing would be written by another scientist. Though there would have been some extrapolation done by the previous scientist, But the next scientist definitely would have seen the result also of those extrapolations, saying, yes, what he said was right. Or he may come and say, no, what he said is wrong. He gave so many theories about black hole. Okay, it was okay for some time to understand, but I have seen that there is something called this black hole. We have seen this happening now, and he may come out and say that yeah, black hole is able to take in everything except sun. For example, he may come out with the theory because that is what is happening. He is seeing that in front of him. So basically, perception, inference, and understanding, these are all happening with two limitations. One is based on the object in front of us, either the absence of it or the presence of it, and also the changes that that object is undergoing. That is one defect. And the second defect is the limitation of the instrument what is with the observer. So both these ways knowledge is curtailed. So this is the reason it's very clear that mind which is a subset cannot reach Brahman. Na tattar chakshur gacchati na vag gacchati. No mano na vidmaha na vijanemo yataida anushishyat. So, na tattar chakshur gacchati na vag gacchati. Sense organs cannot reach it. It is like, at the end of the Vedanta Vichara, if at all, in the graduation ceremony, mind has to be handed over the award of Brahman. That cannot happen. Mind cannot receive that or even perceive that as a gross object, because mind is so small compared to that, because mind is a subset of that actually. Then the question is, then where is the possibility of then understanding? Then where is the possibility of understanding? Basically,
yes, that was my question.
That's
that
amazing.
Again,
that's amazing. That's amazing. Now, in a fabric of whatever size, 2 meters, whatever it is, you have a hanky, pure white color. In that there is just one spot. Okay, so if that spot is identifying itself as separate from that hanky, that is where the problem starts. That spot is only differentiated by a color, but it is a part of the same handkerchief or the same yarn or the same spot in that particular yarn. You can go up to the cell level. It is just that for whatever reason it is exhibiting a different color, that's it. But as long as it doesn't differentiate from the totality, there is no discussion, there is no gyan required also, nothing is required, because ignorance has not happened. But when the spot identifies itself as separate from that particular whole, that particular entire hanky or 2 by 2 meter cloth, pure white cloth, the moment it identifies itself as separate from that, that's where all problems start, because that's where the boundary is created. So the moment boundary is created, bondage starts. Then that spot wants to be better than all other spots or equal to all other spots. So its entire life becomes a journey of decoloring. So it has to go for all cosmetics. In this case, it might be a bleaching agent or whatever it is. It has to wait for a bleaching agent to be invented so that it can get rid of that color. This becomes a problem. Now, if it has to be told that it is a totality, now we have to understand one thing. The bound person is the one who is being addressed, and mind is that bound person actually. So we have Karana and we have a person who is bound by this Karana. That's more important actually to understand. Mind creates this bondage, but who is bound? Mind is not bound. The person is bound, unfortunately. Seemingly he is bound actually. The one which can never be bound is kind of looking bound. So mind is still something other than the observer, real observer. The problem is we operate from the level of mind, thinking we are that particular thing, which is a very small bubble actually, and that's where our understanding starts. Now, when knowledge is being given, the knowledge is being given saying that this bondage is the real problem. The ignorance about one being the totality, the ignorance about one being the totality, and ignorantly understanding oneself to be bound is the real problem. So this is where the things come to. If that spot doesn't create that boundary, if the spot understands, if the spot understands that these coloring and discoloring can keep happening, but it remains the fabric, which is a totality, job is done. Now this spot, what we were discussing, is thrown out somewhere. Actually, it is just dropped. We are not even discussing this about the spot now, because when it is yarn, when it is just yarn and not this speck or spot, there is a switch in identity separate. There is a clear switch in identity. This is the most trickiest part. The pursuit is happening with the understanding of that spot, dark spot. Okay? As the pursuit is maturing, the identity has switched to yarn identity from this particular dark spot identity. So when this has switched, the questions which were there in the mind of this spot is already gone, because the questions were of this spot, the one which was bound, one which was feeling it was bound. Now the identities which is happening, that is where Aikya is basically. You move away from the smaller identity, you get into the totality identity, where that boundary is no longer there. The beauty is that one way to identify ourselves and keep owning is only the space which we are occupying. This is where that bound identity comes. And mind and intellect thrives, and they create WBC to protect this identity. To protect this identity, boss, you have this space. Never leave this space to anyone else, actually. Okay, so this is your identity. Hold your place intact. Create some more place where you will be more protected. This small space will be protected by larger space, it thinks. Okay, and the way I think the survival instinct is created amazingly by Maya. In every being that is having this nice boundary, it has given this survival mechanism, right from an inanimate object, which is a cell, to a biological cell, which is a kind of animate object. This concept works. So the only difference between inanimate object and an animate object is very, very simple. Animate object has an antahkarana, the one who is feeling stuck, and also he's got the nice karana. That karana which he uses reflects the consciousness. A cell does not reflect consciousness. It is really jada. It definitely throws out waves, throws out sounds, this, that, emits whatever it is. It can do everything, and which can be picked up by sensors, and you can communicate. That's something. And it can also give voltage because of its own electron movements. So the cell can do only as much. But a biological cell has in totality, that has the ability to create an antahkarana, which can emulate consciousness. Consciousness is the only cognitive thing. Consciousness is the only cognitive thing. When this antahkarana uses the ability of consciousness, it creates as though we are a living thing and we are independent. That boundary it very nicely creates. That's the time when the boundary is very nicely created, and that's the chance actually. So that boundary, the moment it is created, these problems come in. So the switch has to be very clearly understood. The jiva, which is seemingly bound, within this particular body, mind, sense complex, is the one which is trying to get out of this sense of being limited. And while the aikya happens, when the understanding happens, the understanding when it is happening, the person is already switching straight away. The identity, there is an identity switch. Just imagine, it is like, unfortunately we have to give gross examples. We go as person B, and we have person A also coming along. Okay, person B has this problem of whatever, fracture, whatever it is, some kind of a medical issue. Person A is accompanying person B to the hospital. Now, in the hospital, when we are expecting the treatment to happen, when someone suddenly gets a gyan saying, oh God, I thought I was person B, but actually I am person A who has no problem. So, actually the switch is happening. The person A is absolutely no problem. He has got no problem at all. But person B is the one who is kind of having this problem. And while vichara is happening, the person B is rendered kind of a null kind of a entity. And person A is the real person who is there actually. If this kind of a switch happens, what happens is all the problems related to person B, right from the sense of being wanting all the time, sense of being limited, insecure, all the package of issues which was of B goes off along with B. So no more residual questions remain because there is an identity switch. A was always full, that kerchief I can say, the pure thing, without that identity of being a particular speck. It's a totality identity which has been always there, and in the totality identity there is no doubt at all. So that kind of a switch happens. So the trick is very clear actually, that the one who had all the doubts is rendered as a null, kind of null and void, and a subjective anitya thing actually. And one claims that originality, which has all the possibilities of these kind of crazy things happening, but the crazy things only happen in terms of time, and it's completely mithya. So cognitively you can just rubbish all these things and stay in the identity, in the knowledge of the identity of that eternal thing as consciousness itself. So being in the moment, if you ask me, fetches you that. So being in the moment gives you the clear identity or the clear fact of your existence without any physical idea, just existence. And since you are consciously attempting to be in the moment, the only other entity that is available, so we will forget space, you can say space and time, you can say. So to some extent, since location as a thought is already there, you can say space. And since you are in the moment, so the moment word means time. It is just you and time. And all other worldly things are gone already actually. You just, when you are in the moment, you are just with time. And what you see is the moment keeps changing all the time. If you are just with yourself, even you don't see the moment changing. But the only thing you can still identify a little bit is that there is something called a sense of time, because thoughts automatically count the time. So when you have a counter of this mala, you just keep on mechanically doing it. So as it moves, you know that you have traveled some time. 108 counts have finished. So that sense always happens actually. So that sense remains. But the moment you understand that time is that which keeps changing, then the residual one, who is the observer, real observer, is the one who's not at all changing. He is the changeless entity. That is consciousness. That is consciousness. Anything other than that, where there was a sense of being limited, that is more from a sense of mind actually, mind's capacity. So space was there. And again, we always felt that over time things have changed. So that time sense also was there. But when you are identifying yourself as that changeless entity, automatically these problems are all dropped, because in that understanding there is a switch between the observer who was pursuing Vedanta to the observer who always has only the job of observing. Then the question is, you can ask, what will we observe if there is nothing apart from that? The word observer again has to be created only for mind to understand it. Otherwise, we don't need words. So that's why it is said, no, yatho vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. It comes in Taittiriya Upanishad. So from where the words come back, return back along with their meaning, having not been able to reach it. Because words are all anitya vastu. The anitya vastu can never gulp the totality, because it's a subset. The subset cannot, gulp the totality actually. So the tricky point is where, when the Aikya idea is coming in, there is a switch in the observer from a limited observer to the total observer. That switch is happening. This is what renders every residual doubt to be null and void. And this is what renders the absence of punarjanma. How? When the switch is happening, the parallel understanding, the simultaneous understanding also is that, oops, I am that consciousness which can never undergo a change. If that is the status, how come I would have even changed to be a limited person of a limited understanding and I could have undergone all these problems? How? That's where that identity has to come. So when you understand yourself to be the totality, giving away the smaller feeling or smaller idea, we also understand that this totality can never undergo a change. It just cannot undergo a change. Then again, when the question comes, then how did it happen? Again Vedanta. It all started from there only. Again Vedanta. But in the total understanding, once person has already done the vichara, again the same answers are going to come in. So the person will not even think twice actually to understand that, but just let it go. That's where that anitya or maya is very useful. Just package everything as anitya. Again, let me not look at that, the anitya vastu. That vyatiriktam sarvam anityam. Let me not look at them because I have understood them to be anitya. Just that one word is enough for me to park it away. Nitya vastu I am. Anitya vastu I don't need to worry about. Simple. So that understanding comes very, very clearly as a package of experience which one has undergone and also the vichara experience, you can say, culminating into knowledge. So in the knowledge, when the point when knowledge is happening, there is a switch in identity. That is what is rendering all other things to be a non-issue. That is how it is rendering everything else. Otherwise, if you ask me, problem will remain problem. After the pursuit also, a person is the same and I will still use a comb. I will not say that this is all anitya, I'll just go like this actually. I will not do that. I can still use a comb, I can still groom myself. I can still own this body as this. For example, I mean, many a times, you feel that there is a mandir and which is not being maintained properly. So, as a person who's socially committed, many a times they take a commitment. Ye mandir ko main sambhalunga. I'll fund this and I'll find people who can go and serve. Or you yourself say that main khud jaake puja karunga because there is no one I'm finding as a pandit to go into puja. So you maintain something for the sake of others also many a times, or for whatever it is, for the sake of the right thing. You just do that. So the idea post realization about one's own body, mind, sense complex becomes like managing a temple. So this is where I think we have this tilak which we keep into our own, on our forehead. So the background is very clear. The background is deho devalayah. This deha is devalaya. Jivo deva sanatanaha. So this jiva has been always there in this temple all the time. Sanatanaha. Sanatana means times immemorial. It has no beginning, kind of, that kind of a time. Anadi. So, Jivo Deva Sanatanaha. Sanatanaha is more Anadi, kind of. Tyajet Anyana Nirmalyam. By giving out the wilted flowers of ignorance, the ignorance as wilted flowers, as a nirmalya, just leave them. So you treat it as a nirmalya. You don't need to treat it as kind of unholy or whatever. It's nirmalya. It is being used in its nirmalya. Okay. Soham bhavena pujayet. By living it out, just understand yourself to be that ultimate thing. Soham, that ultimate is me only. Pujayet. So it's such a nice Advaita concept in that particular simple words, and with that bhava only we keep the tilak. Deho devalaya prokta, jivo devas sanatanaha, tyajet ajnana nirmalyam, soham bhavena pujayet. So this is just like, maintaining one's own body as an external thing to oneself. So this we are seeing, even as a sadhaka, we have to keep this approach in mind. And this is how we start. Now when Aikya happens, that becomes a well-established knowledge and then it doesn't become like a kind of a theory or whatever to a postulate to start with, because you already understand that you are that ultimate thing, and you are none of these things where you feel you are stuck. You are not at all this. So cognitively you understand actually. That is how it is working. Coming to this is the overall explanation about it, because the identity switch is very important. Unless we understand the identity switch right, it's very difficult to gulp this and understand this, because mind is the one which is thinking, and mind is the one which has the limitation as well, and mind is the one only which has to be taking the knowledge. It is like the mouth.
The knowledge.
It is the mouth. I mean, all said and done, of course we can be given the energy or the nutrients through our veins. That's one way to do it. But then even it can only take as much. That's even a smaller mouth. A small needle hole only is there through which food can be given. So mind has the capacity to expand as much, to understand that it is mithya. Thank God, it has that capacity to understand that it is mithya, but it cannot expand to the level of what is satya, only because its size is limited. From its own definition, it is bound. That's the reason there is a mind separately available. And when it is bound, obviously there is a boundary. We are talking about totality, which cannot be gulped by this small mind. So that's where it is. But mind will reach to a level, the ultimate level of Aikya, where it happens. Mind has to just annihilate itself in the understanding that it is a part of Jagat, which is Anitya. And in fact, it is only kind of aping consciousness, using the power of consciousness, that it is everything. It is like, a sidekick of a politician. Most of the times, the sidekick of the politician actually throws much more weight in terms of power and other thing to the outside world than the politician, the real leader himself actually. There are a lot of the proxies, not proxies again, most of these other guys, the front end guys, they are the ones who claim, who show that they have the maximum power actually, but actually the power is derived from the main politician, in the name of the main politician, the main leader actually. The main leader would not even show any of this, traits actually. So this way, consciousness is that totality in which everything is there. You can give any name for the purpose of upasana. You can call Shiva, you can call whatever. The moment you give a name, it is already bound, because mind can only take that what is bound. This is only because of the limitation of the antahkarana. That is the only reason it has to be given in the particular way. Otherwise, it can. Otherwise, Tattvamasi is the only word you have to say. Nothing else has to be told.
Does that mean that mind is the only source of this say knowledge, and mind is the only limitation?
See, if at
And
all.
second, and mind only understands the references. That's why all these references are being given. Because without reference, mind doesn't understand.
Yes.
Mind has a limitation. Mind is the only thing which has to be brought out of this limitation.
Absolutely.
And the only way to achieve this knowledge is also only through mind.
Absolutely. See, when we use a remote to communicate with the TV, okay. So if it is only hooked onto that technology, you better use the remote, because it only understands those probably infrared rays, whatever signal it gives. That's the only way you can communicate. Unlike a situation where you can just say, Alexa, please go to this channel. So there the antahkarana is little different, because it is designed for sound instructions as well. So it all depends on the antahkarana. That's how it's going to work actually. If the instrument is only created for transacting to a particular stimuli, or to a particular connector, only those connections will work. It cannot graduate itself to a different connection unless the technology is changed. So human mind also is a particular level of technology, and that can only take as much. And at least from Shastra, what we understand is only when this human mind and intellect, this kind of a brain and this kind of a body is given, there is a chance to gulp it even better actually than maybe that of any other level of beings, whether it can be animals or any other what you can say classification. So protozoa, porifera, vertebrates, invertebrates. There are so many things actually. Of all these things, the evolved one is human being, and having obtained human birth, definitely one has to use this best antahkarana to get away from that ignorant situation. So that's where I think Shastra points it out actually, saying having obtained this kind of a mind, use that to solve your own problem of ignorance. So, difference between space and consciousness. So, as I was saying, being in the moment. So, when you meditate and you are in the moment, all that you see is just yourself, not as a thing, just yourself. At that time, you will not even try to see, how you look, whether you have combed your hair or not, whether your hair is grey or, black. You don't even worry about the color of any of these things actually. Almost it's more closer to a Sushupti level. That's where the real dhyana takes you to, if you ask me. Go close to Sushupti. You don't lose the identity there actually. Identity in the sense, you don't lose, the conscious state actually, you can say. You're claiming that state. It's very nice actually. So you're just with oneself, and that pure thing is just consciousness, nothing else actually. So mind is there, thought is all happening. When you create that kind of a situation, mind is completely resolved. Though you are in a sitting position, contemplating position, mind is completely resolved, and what obtains is just consciousness, which has been all the time. Only the noise has to stop. Only the noise has to stop. That's what noise is of mind. That's where you go into a contemplative and meditative state. And all that you see is just space and time, which is anitya. So, there the status of space and time is very clearly identified, and they are seen as something different and something which is not there at all. Because at the pixel where you are, or where you take yourself to be, you are there, and other than yourself, nothing else is there. Because if you take one pixel at the point where you are, simple, just take where you are as one pixel, as a point. In that point, ask yourself a question whether there is space in which you are, or it is just you which is even understanding space. That's all. It is just one entity which is understanding space. And then now, if we think that, okay, if I switch out of that speck, is that speck going to remain the same? Am I going to occupy another speck? That's the only thing one has to understand. So there one has to understand, I am that Chetana, I am that consciousness, I am there. When I forcibly give lesser credence to my understanding, space comes. That's it. I have to vacate that pixel. I am calling that a pixel. I have to vacate that pixel for me to understand that that place is empty. Okay? How can I vacate? I can vacate only when there is equally another empty space where I can go. Correct? For me to understand that my house is empty, if I am the only occupier, I have to go to my adjacent house, so that my house can be claimed as empty now. Now, I have to find out, is there an empty space next to me? There I find that I am that one consciousness where there can never be emptiness, because I am conscious all the time. I am that consciousness. If I am that consciousness who cannot find another empty space, see, basically, even when I am giving this example, I have to create a boundary of one house versus another house. That is how mind unfortunately understands. Mind has to be told that there is a thing that is without a boundary. Akhanda. So, we understand vritti with a khanda. The moment we break out the barrier, we understand that no, we are akhanda, then where is the chance for me to park myself into the next pixel to understand that the previous one is absolute space? Absolute space remains when it is without anything else, correct? Absolute space should be without anything else, Manishji.
Yes.
It has to be an absolute space without anything else. Now, when I when I don't find myself to park anywhere else, this is where the understanding has to come.
So one more thing which I understand, mind is a problem and mind is the only solution.
Yes, mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. Mind is the only source of solution as much as it is the source of the problem. Because where the speck is, that place needs the bleaching, not all other space, all other place. That space only needs the bleaching. We don't need to bleach the other place. Where the ignorance is, that place has to be addressed. That's all. This is the reason, unfortunately, no, Vedanta doesn't work with the proxy. We can't send a proxy actually for attendance. Vedanta will not work. Because so nicely, it is so greatly embedded. I mean, sometimes I feel it is very dangerous. It's a very dangerous adventure actually to have ignorance. Dangerous, it's so potent. It's so potent. It makes us go the farthest from our originality only to come back. Many times, I don't know whether you have felt this, in dream many times you will feel that you just traveled so far that you don't have any chance to get back and you are in a hurry to get back actually. You are just traveling, you have traveled so far suddenly you feel, oh God, I'm in Antarctica, how do I go reach back Water Lily, Ahmedabad. So this can happen actually sometimes, So this ignorance, simple ignorance, makes us travel so far, and that distance unfortunately has to covered back through vichara. Vichara is one thing. The worst part is sadhana. I have to do all the sadhana to work, come back. Exactly, we have to do the marathon. So for marathon, first you have to eat properly, and eating properly is not the only thing. Not eating the improper things is more important. Then you have to keep the right shape, right knees, for you to come back, right techniques, coach involved, pay that coach, after that you pay another coach. So this travel back is such a dangerous thing, and all this distance is created by what? A small thing, ignorance. It's very dangerous actually. So that point one has to understand actually. Can I park myself as consciousness theoretically in another place to understand and see pure space? It is like, this is the example given. Purandara Dasa was someone who had written so many songs, on Lord Rama and Krishna. He was someone who was basically a vyapari. And he was quite stingy, and of course he was someone who was materialistic and he was making money all the time. Suddenly there was some transformation due to which he gave up everything. He started writing songs on Krishna and Krishna, I think, most of the time. So Purandara Dasa is very well known. He used to write songs in Kannada. So, though of course he was more Advaiti, you can say, not an Advaiti, he was more Advaiti, you can say, because he was more into bhakti. That's what he was. Though he would call, Krishna as everything, that he would say, but he will never say that he is also Krishna. That part, culmination, will not happen normally. But anyway, the example in his thing was that I think whosoever he had as a guru, his guru asked the set of people to go out. I think that his guru handed over one plantain fruit to everyone, one banana to all the shishyas. He told them that each of you find a place where there is no one and eat it and come back. So everyone went and everyone came back. There was only one guy who came back with the banana in his hand. So everyone, and he asked all the guys actually saying, okay, could you find a place where there was no one? I said, yeah, of course, we found a place, where there was no one, and we ate it, and then we came back. And this gentleman who was Purandaradasa, who was known as Purandaradasa, he said that, no, I could not find anyone. I could not find a place where, he just came with the banana. Guru asked him, but why did you come back with the banana? Why did you eat? He said that I could not find a place where there was no one. He said, fine, then who you saw? He said, I saw the Lord everywhere. I could not see a place where he is not there. So where do I eat? So this is a perspective he brought in actually. So these examples, they give kind of lot of clues actually. He could not find a place where there is no Lord. I mean, whatever we see as a subset has to be within the universal set. It is like saying, I am a subset, and I say that I traveled a lot of distance within the universal set only, and say that finally I could not find anything, including the universal set. So how can I say this actually? By definition, subset is a part of universal set only.
Universal truth.
Huh. So some of these examples also, give us that cognitive understanding to come out of the sense of being bound and give the perspective differently. So when you look at absolute space, when you even try to look at absolute space, you have to vacate your place to find that, because you are there everywhere as an observer. Wherever you go to, ISRO, you sit in ISRO or you sit in NASA as a scientist to understand, okay, who am I and where is this absolute space? In contemplative state where you just close your eyes, understand where you are, and in that location you have to try and see an absolute space. Mind can still create a kind of imagination of an absolute space, but that's the capacity of mind which it derives from consciousness only. That's where Maya comes into picture. A great world can be created just by thought. It can be created. It can be created. There is a possibility. But that should be still an adventure. See, you can go for bungee jump, but not become a monkey doing a bungee all the time. So that is a time pass, that is okay. We got into this adventure. Let us call it as an adventure and go back to the original self and not slip into the level of misadventure. Get back to the original position, which is what the best situation is all about. So, for example, we have something called a pleasurable pain. Sometimes we even like those pain. Like when you do a workout, right? After that, you get a massage. Either by yourself also, you can just hold on to your calf muscles. If you walk, for example, for 3 hours, and you have a time to relax, and at that time you just give a nice massage to your own calf muscle, you will be in bliss, kind of. So there are some pains which turn that into a pleasurable thing actually. In massage, what is happening? You basically, someone is putting pressure actually, right? But then that pressure is giving you pleasure. That's pain only. That's also pain. So pain in a particular degree is okay. But the moment it's getting into misadventure, so that's where this example of turtle in warm water comes in actually. The turtle is put into warm water, and as long as it is warm water, it enjoys. Lukewarm, it enjoys. But it is not understanding that you have some more some more gas which is kept on, the fuel which is kept on, it's going to boil it over a period of time. It doesn't understand that. So even in Jivatva, it's okay to enjoy as long as it is lukewarm water and not let it go to the boiling stage. But unfortunately, lukewarm stage is the stage where samsara attracts us. And the moment it gets into boiling stage, we want nivritti. That's when Vedanta comes. Boss, ये ज़्यादा हो गया अभी. Now let me understand what's happening actually. I want to come out of this situation. Then Shastra will be smiling. Oh, but you were enjoying, no? Initially you were enjoying. You wrote so many poems also, saying what? This kind of warmth is the great warmth I've been looking at. Thank God you gave me all these things. You wrote so many poems. Now you are coming back and saying it is the same container, same gas, same HP cylinder. Though there is a scarcity outside, a gas is provided for you to get cooked, and you are saying you are not enjoying it. So the enjoyment is only as long as the water is lukewarm. Simple. The samsara is that water. Temperature is that anityatva. One has to only understand that, that's all. So if unfortunately that was the true status, to keep oscillating and to be like anitya is the true status, it would have been really a curse actually. Luckily that is not the truth. This is where Shastra has a chance to come and say that, hey, the only way to come out of your problem ultimately, if you want a better return of investment of your time and money, the best thing to do is understand this basic ignorance part. You will claim everything. That is the total return of investment with an infinite return. Because infinite return, no, you return back to infinity, your own possession of infinity. So that is an infinity return, right? Return on investment. Otherwise, from a small house, you go to a larger house. Yes, as long as you don't confront labor problems. मेड नहीं आए. One has a problem. अरे यार आज घर साफ कौन करेगा? That then you will say from small house to bigger house was the degree of better happiness. Now when minus made, when you see some other dimensions, नहीं made नहीं है तो it's better that we remain in a smaller house. 500 square feet भी ठीक है. So then they will say, boss अभी तो बोला था you want a 3000 square feet house. नहीं forget यार, तुमको ये सब प्रॉब्लम पता नहीं है, छोड़ देना, तुम्हें समझ में नहीं आएगा. I want a 500 square feet house. तो रामा और कृष्णा ऑल्सो विल गेट कंफ्यूज. यार कल तो बोला था 3000, मैंने मुश्किल से अरेंज किया था, अब आके बोल रहा है कि 500 रुपये चाहिए. ठीक है मैं कर दूँ. Of course Krishna will be smiling because he will understand that dimension of that maid also coming and not coming. So he will understand it. But anyway, we will take some time to understand because experience teaches us better. So that's why Vedanta steps in and says that, boss, don't keep making small steps to get towards happiness. All that you are trying to do is to be happy. And unfortunately, the method you are following is what is wrong. All the time, you are picking up things which are going to change in time and space. But your expectation is that they have to remain exactly intact. So your own expectation is wrong, no? So if we paraphrase, for example, whenever we use artificial intelligence these days, we need to know how to give the prompt. Similarly, these prompts were available those days, the concept of prompts. For example, if, who was this? Hiranyakashipu. He was asking for Vardhan. First thing he said, he told, supposing you see Lord as the AI. Okay, he was the total intelligence, right? So he was asking Lord, saying, I should never die, give me this kind of a Vardhan. So Lord was very clear. He said that, boss, you have to always ask something which is practical. So you were born, that shows that it is contained now. So obviously you will be going out, right? So don't ask me such kind of a thing. Ask for something specific which is practical. So this is where he got stuck. Then he had to come practical. So when he had to come practical, the prompt, he basically the prompt engineering was happening. He had only one small probably mistake. And I don't think anyone can get into absolute, prompt engineering at all. He said that I should not be dying either in day or night, either by an animal or by a human being. He could give as many prompts as possible. He concluded as many things as possible. But finally, there was a form found to comply with all his prompts, yet that guy was killed. That is what happened. So, Shastra says that, boss, you are asking for things I can help you with. But unfortunately, whatever you are asking me, you are asking the Anitya part of me actually, which I can give you because totality is me only. I can give you the Anitya also. You are asking for a good maid, servant maid, no problem, I can give you. But she will also pass away sometime. No, wo kya karunga main? That is going to happen because you are asking the Anitya part of me. You ask the Nitya part of me, you will be always with me, you are me only. But you are asking Anitya part of it, I can definitely give you. You are getting into an adventure where you will have more adventures. This is where Shastra is coming from. That part of Shastra where it says, give up all these things, everything time bound, space bound is Anitya. There is one thing which is Nitya, focus on that. That's where the clue is very important actually. And then that culminating into oneself as the Nitya Vastu is amazing thing. That's what has to happen. Otherwise we get, the Bhatakna wala is the word, is a nice word actually. Just keep wandering here and there actually, not knowing where to go.
But mostly we do that only.
We do that only because that is how it is, right? Unless we understand the totality or we go closer towards the totality through sadhana with a very resolved mind, the default setting is that look for dharma artha kama through Vishaya Ananda. And most of the times we say Vishaya Ananda turns out to be Vishaya Dukkha. Most of the times the experience is that also. Or at least when the experience comes even once about dukkha, it is very intense. To an extent that it can nullify all the other ananda actually. Oh God, this is not what I want to get into. This happens. So that's where Shastra has to come and tell actually. And all that it has to come and say, which is doing very nicely, that is they're saying, boss, I don't need to give you happiness separately. Because even for me to give you happiness, it's going to be very difficult. Because you are that happiness. I have to just make you understand you are that happiness. That's what it has to. Unfortunately, Shastra doesn't behave this way, like, where in some movies we show that unfortunately in some hospitals where they want to make money, they show as though the person is still alive and they put that person on the ventilator, say that, oh, we are performing this, that, and pay this much, that much, only to declare after 10 days that the person is already gone. Luckily, Shastra is not someone who's going to make money. It is totality, right? Maya is Brahmashraya. So it doesn't have all these monetary, kind of ideas. The moment some person comes, says, okay, it understands what level he is in, to a level that he can understand, it gives. So Vedapurva is more about that, where a person can only get up to that level. Okay, with Chitta Shuddhi over a period of time, the person will start into Vichara. The moment the person comes into Vichara, level of Vichara, it gives straight away the fundas. Boss, don't worry, you are that ultimate only. You don't have to spend too much of time in the class, because I'm not interested in making money at all. Because in any case, I am everything, I know, that is very clear. You have a problem, I can solve it. That's it. So clear it is actually. It just says, you are that everything. It is just that you do not know. I will help you to know. You will claim your own Ananda, which is yourself. That's what it is saying. That's where we are in the safe hands of, Shastra.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Most welcome. One question of Manish ji always, fills the class actually. Amazing.
So,
That's how it has to be, Manish ji.
This is
Tattva-bodha.
out of this.
Tattva-bodha. Okay. So I think this is how Vichara has to happen.
Because this is, I am reading, I've read it almost 5 times.
Okay.
But it's still there are so many questions.
That's where I said, no, Tattva-bodha is an amazing, wonderful thing. I think others can also buy that. Vivek Chudamani is even more an elaborate version of Tattva-bodha. Tattva-bodha is quite crisp. So I said, for me, the paradigm shift was there actually. So in 98, I think this was February 1998. So when I happened to get that book, I knew about it for a long time. But then I picked up the book personally only at that time, from someone for reading. Though my father had that book all the time, he used to talk about it to my mother, and I used to only overhear all the time. So when I had a chance to get that book myself in Aurangabad, in fact through someone else who was also a student of Swami Paramarthananda sometime maybe. So I got this book. So only one question I had was that I've heard about, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not the intellect, I'm something away from all these things. I possess these things, but I'm away from all these things. So all this funda I knew. But the way you're asking me, Manish ji, I was in that situation where I was not able to crack actually. I said, then who am I? How do I understand myself to be total thing from which everything comes? So I knew that I was not there. I knew that I had got into the right track, but I was still not there. I knew Aika did not happen. I was very clear about it. So before opening the book, the only question, again prompt engineering. So I just said to myself, or maybe to the Lord you can say, that I've heard enough of these things. And I understand, what is, being conveyed, what is being indicated. I understand it, but I'm still not there. So where is this gap? Why is this gap? I want to know that. That's the only prompt engineering I gave actually before opening that book. And this is what I want to understand. That's the prompt engineering I gave. The moment I opened it, I started reading it. I think within 15 pages, I understood that I got the precise answer. I mean, that's where I think one has to be lucky if you ask me. You just want an answer for something and you get a precise answer for that. That's grace if you ask me. You can say it's grace. Within the 15th page, I understood that there is something called adhikaratva. You have to gain that adhikaratva for even pursuing this knowledge. Unless that happens, you just cannot assimilate the knowledge which is being spoken about, because it's a real, what I can say, in-depth stuff which is being discussed. So one has to graduate to that level. One has to purify relatively at least. Only then you can, do something about it. So the concept was so clear actually. I mean, the answer was so clear and striking. To an extent, I was so committed, I was so delighted. I said that fine, though I love to go further and read these pages, I said no, I'll keep my inquisitiveness in abeyance until the time I crack the first part of it, I gain adhikaratva. So I want to gain adhikaratva now, that's my only job, simple. So the rest of the pages I will only do when I know that I have got adhikaratva. This is what I resolved with. So you can imagine, you have a book in front of you, You want to know what is there from 16th page onwards, but you want to follow what is there up to 15th page. You do not know when you are going to achieve that as well, but you are getting into a commitment. This is where I was. But the energy was amazing. I think it just clicked actually that, I have to get into I don't know what energy it was, but anyway, it is grace to a larger extent also, we can say. But it worked. The first day I started, okay, let me see how to do this. The first thing I started was get up on time. Get up on time, whatever may be the case, and sleep only for 6 hours, not more than that. I just tried it on me, it worked wonder actually. So then I understood, okay, oh God, I mean, it was almost like a fission reaction, you can say. It was like that. So that energy gave me enough confidence that no, I have to now read further. It gave me enough confidence because I understood what sadhana was. Amazing. So I could not explain this. Those days I used to explain this to my general manager as well. People used to see me actually. They say, Mr. Bhaskar, what's happening to you? And why are you feeling so energetic? They used to say this. They used to ask me. I say, I feel so good doing all these things. So someone was rephrasing, saying, you're just feeling fresh. Just because you're doing these exercises, you are feeling fresh. That's the only change happening in you. I knew something that was beyond something, beyond just being, feeling fresh. I knew that actually. So eventually, I think this I'm talking about 98 February. And come 2003 August, I just cracked it. Simple. After that, I didn't need anything actually after that. I just cracked it. So it's matter of, that intense pursuit was between 98 February to August 2003. And the secret was only 98 February. That adhikaratva, gaining adhikaratva was the key for the success actually. Without sadhana, vichara will not help. And only doing sadhana and not doing vichara will be like boiling milk without making a tea or coffee out of it and having it. Keep on boiling milk. What for? Keep on boiling milk. ठीक है यार, बॉयल कर रहे, व्हाट फॉर? टू हैव अ नाइस कॉफी और टी. फल भी तो आना चाहिए. साधना इज रिक्वायर्ड फाइनली फॉर विचारा एंड ऐक्य. दैट इज मोर इम्पॉर्टेंट. नॉट दैट आई विल कीप डूइंग पूजा फॉर इटर्निटी. वी कैन डू. द ओनली हेल्प इट विल गिव इज इट विल मेंटेन दैट purity of mind, that adhikaratva status it will maintain. You will again get another birth where definitely you will be born as an adhikari ideally. But again, no, you have to keep wondering. You have to have the chance of coming across a Vedantin who understands, who can also teach. All this is, vagary of life, right? Better not to let our life into vagary actually. That's where it's a misadventure. Better to understand, crack it, finish it off as soon as possible. So great, superb. So, but anyway, I'll ask others also if I have any question. I'm open. Else we can chant Purnamada. I'll give 10 seconds for others to raise hand in case.